Hi friends, it's Kiba here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about dog grooming. So, this is what not to say to your dog groomer. Now, I have been a dog groomer since 2017. It's now 2024. That's like, what, 7 years? So, I've heard a lot. I've seen a lot. So this is going to be like a little guide to help you when you go to the groomers and how to not piss off your groomer so they don't butcher your dog. So, number one, I know that this might come as a shock to a lot of you, but don't say you want a puppy cut. A puppy cut doesn't mean anything. Everybody has their own idea of what a puppy cut is. A lot of people think it means shaved bald. A lot of people think it means super fluffy, like a puppy. But all it means is just one length all over. So that gives me no indication as to what kind of haircut you want for your dog, because automatically every single dog that I do will get the same length all over, unless you specify you want like a poodle cut or a schnauzer cut, like something like that, where it's like different lengths and like skirts and stuff and longer legs. So saying puppy cut doesn't mean anything, and all it's gonna do is piss off your groomer. Like, it's the most frustrating thing to hear because we have no concept of what you actually want. So you want to gauge how long or short you want your dog to be. Do you want it short and fluffy? Do you like it like longer? Do you want it fluffy? Do you want it shaved? Do you want it super short? Like, I like to do what's called a two comb. It's like short, not shaved. So that's like, short and fluffy to me. But some people think that that's really short, and that some people think that's shaved. Everybody has their own concepts of long and short. So it's best to just like bring pictures. And speaking of pictures, number two, if your dog is a certain breed, don't bring in a picture of a dog that is a different breed and be like, I want it to look like this, because your dog is not going to look like that. I cannot transform your dog's hair. I can't turn your curly coated dog into a straight haired dog, or vice versa. I can't make your Yorkie look like a doodle. Also, a lot of people want a round face on a lot of dogs, which is fine, especially on Shih Tzus. Shih Tzus like naturally have round faces, but like on a Yorkie, not all Yorkies have round faces, so it's not always that easy. So don't get your expectations too high. Like, they'll definitely do their best to try to make it as round as possible, but some dogs just don't have a round face, and it's just not going to work with their hair, and if there's knots and stuff like that. Another thing, make sure you have your vaccines prepared. We've had a lot of rude people be like, I'm not gonna bring my dog to you because I don't want vaccines. And it's like, okay, that's not our fault, that's the law. Most states require just rabies, which is pretty simple. Unfortunately, New York state law is rabies, bordetella, parvo, and distemper. So that is something that I have to deal with all the time. It's not a threat to say I'm not gonna come to you. It's not a threat to say I'm not gonna come back. Your groomer doesn't want you back if you're rude. If you're a rude person, we don't care. You could leave. Like, also, if you're one of those people who are nitpicky and you want me to fix every tiny little thing on your dog for 20 minutes, like, oh, can you trim more here? Can you trim more here? Like, that's just rude. Your groomer is gonna hate you. It's like you're like just shitting on their work, essentially. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes a groom is just bad, especially if the dog is bad. If the dog is really bad or like aggressive or like moves a lot, we don't want to risk hurting your dog. That is our main priority, or what should be a groomer's main priority is a dog's safety. So we don't want to cut your dog, God forbid. Another thing, if your dog is matted, you can't expect a groomer to keep the hair. Now, if you don't know what matting is, it's like when the knots in the body start to fuse together and they become like almost like a carpet. Like, it's just so tight and it's stuck to the body and stuck to the skin. So there's no way that a comb attachment can go through that. It'll just catch in the hair and it'll start to rip your dog's skin and your dog can bleed. Which also would happen if you tried to brush it out, which honestly would be very painful for the dog and would take many, many hours that we just simply don't have. So it's just a lot of the time not possible. If a groomer is telling you your dog is matted, your dog needs to be shaved. And, that happens. That happens when a lot of the time you wash your dog and you don't blow dry and brush the hair afterwards. Because any moisture that sits in the hair will make it more knotted. So honestly, we recommend washing like once a month, once every other month, if like your dog isn't like super dirty. Or just like only wash it at the groomers, things like that. Or just, if you have a blow dryer, and make sure that you're like brushing and combing them out afterwards. Otherwise the hair is going to clump together. Another thing not to tell your groomer is, I brush my dog every day, when you don't. We could tell who brushes their dog every day and who doesn't brush their dog. A lot of people who say I brush my dog every day, that dog has never seen a brush in its life. The people don't own a brush. And you don't need to lie. It's okay. I don't brush my dog. I'm a groomer. I don't brush my dogs at all. I brush them when they get a bath or when they get groomed. That's it. You don't, if you have a curly coated dog, you do have to brush it if you want to leave the hair long. Or you could get on a really good grooming schedule where it's like every 6 to 8 weeks, the dog shouldn't be getting matted or knotted if it's getting groomed frequently enough every 6 to 8 weeks. Usually the coat is properly maintained if that is the case. Is there any other things that I could think of at the moment of what not to tell your groomer? Oh, when you come in for your grooming and they say, what do you want to do? Don't say nails. We know to clip your dog's nails. Every single salon I've ever worked at, nail clipping is part of the package. We don't need to know that. We literally don't. The nails are always included. And if the nails are not included or they forgot about them, they're a terrible groomer. Because nails are extremely, extremely important. So when your groomer asks, what do you want to do? They want to know how long or short you want to leave the dog's haircut. I stopped saying, what do you want to do for them today? And I started saying, what kind of haircut do you want to do today? Because that tends to help more. I would rather somebody, also, again, back to puppy cut, I would rather somebody tell me, I don't know, versus puppy cut. At least you're honest about it. Puppy cut just kind of sounds like you want to sound like you know what you're talking about, but you don't. You sound silly, because that means nothing. I have no idea why everybody seems to know the term puppy cut, because it makes no sense, because it's just not ever used. It's just not a thing. It really is not. It means one length all over. That's literally it. I don't know why it became such a thing that everybody knows for some reason. But yeah, everybody likes their dog different. If your groomer doesn't get it right the first time, give them a second chance or a third chance to get it how you want it, because you might describe something that looks different in their mind versus in your mind. Sometimes somebody came in the other day. They told me they wanted the haircut longer than last time, but they described short and fluffy to me, so that's a 2 comb. So instead I went with a 0 comb, which is 2 lengths longer, and she loved it. So, don't get upset if the haircut doesn't come out exactly the way that you want, because, they're their own person. Every groomer has their own style. Some people will show me pictures of these perfectly groomed dogs where their faces are fluffed out and they're very rounded and perfect. And I'm just I can't do that. I've never learned how to do those round, those little Bichon poodle looking dogs where they have the round muzzle like that. I never learned how to do that. I mean, I can kind of do it, but it's really, really hard, especially because people will show you that and their dog will have more, that's usually a curly coated dog that they're showing you. They'll give you a dog that has a wavy coat or a straight coat and they want it to look like that, and I'm just I can't do that. Especially a lot of dogs don't like their face blow dried, and it's the dog in the picture obviously had his face perfectly blow dried. Your dog, I'm grooming his face wet or just damp because he hated it, and he wouldn't let me blow dry it. Sometimes you just have to let, a lot of dogs, you have to let their face air dry. Now at my salon, we don't have cages at all, and we don't have cage dryers, so that makes it a lot more difficult. So we just have to do it by hand with the manual dryer. So a lot of dogs really, really don't like that. So, just keep in mind, like, different salons have different tools and different things, and what somebody might be capable of doing versus what they might not. Some people will just show you, like, a picture of a dog that looks absolutely perfect, and that's very intimidating because it's like, that's above my skill set. I think I'm a pretty good groomer, but I know that there's certain things that I just don't know how to do. I don't have certain tools, like I don't have chunkers for blending, which I really should. But it makes your life a lot easier when you're trying to like make smooth blending, stuff like that. So, just keep in mind, not everybody has the tools or just the knowledge or the practice to do exactly what you want. And there's no shame in shopping around for groomers, especially if you see a groomer with bad reviews, you get a bad vibe, you feel like they're aggressive to the dogs. I've worked in a lot of different salons. I've seen a lot of people be aggressive to dogs. I've left a lot of places because of that. It's very sad. It's scary. But one of them, also another thing I want to mention. So this is like a little bit tricky for me to say because I understand when people are nervous because I've worked in salons where people are aggressive towards the animals. And you never want you want your groomer to treat your dog like your baby because that's your baby. You don't want somebody to manhandle your dog or choke your dog or throw them on the floor, which I have seen people do. And it's very, very sad. So I understand wanting to stay, and that's okay sometimes. But if you're one of those people who wants to stay, don't be annoying. Do not hover 5 feet away from me. Don't hover over me while I'm grooming. I don't mind if you walk over every once in a while just to check on the dog, but don't hover. Don't sit there and go, oh, it's okay. The more you talk to your dog, the more your dog is going to go like this, and the more he risks getting cut. So the more your dog is moving, the more it's going to get cut. And usually if your dog sees you, it's going to go crazy, especially if you're trying to talk to it and be like, oh, it's okay. Also, if your dog makes a noise, like a little yell or like he's crying a little bit. Some dogs are very uncomfortable with the grooming process. Don't be like, oh my God, is he okay? Is he okay? Every time your dog makes a noise. It's not a big deal. Dogs make noises all the time for grooming. They make sounds you would never imagine a dog would make. And 99.9% of the time, they are fine. Unless your dog is like screaming, I wouldn't be concerned. Even then, I've had dogs scream for nothing. Some dogs will just scream if you hold their foot. It's not that serious. It is nerve-wracking, but I highly recommend not staying. It is better for the groomer. It is better for your dog because your dog gets distracted by you. You're their mommy. They want to jump to you. There are dogs that will try to suicide off the table. They will try to jump off the table to you and hang themselves, which is very, very scary for us. We're putting sharp tools near them, and we're trying not to injure your dog. And you being there causes a distraction. Now, granted, there's some exceptions. I do have people who stay, but they'll sit on the bench and they'll relax. Occasionally they'll come over and chill, and the dogs usually don't go crazy. But that's rare. Most people, the dog will, if the owner comes back early, the dog is done. I can't do anything. The dog is trying to jump off the table to you now that you have showed up early. So now I can't even finish your dog. It's going to go home looking a little lopsided. Its face is uneven. And there's nothing I could do because you showed up early. Which, I understand if it's been a while, you want to just show up and see if your dog is done. That's fine. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm just saying, keep that in mind. You are a distraction for your dog. I would highly recommend not staying at your grooming salon. Maybe, or if you really, really feel nervous, like you've had bad experiences or you're very nervous to try somebody new, maybe stay for the first or the second groom, stay like once or twice and see how you like it. If you don't, after that, I would recommend not staying anymore. I have people who stay sometimes and then leave other times. It's a lot more stressful a lot of the time for the groomer and for the dog, for the owner to be there. So I think I summarized pretty much everything. I could probably definitely think of more things, but these are just the things I thought of off the top of my head of, what not to do when you go to the groomers. Let me reiterate not to argue about vaccines. please. It's New York state law, and well, it's everywhere that has laws on vaccines. You know, like if your dog isn't vaccinated and then the health department comes in, they could fine you over $1,000 for every dog that's unvaccinated that's in your salon. So why would we want to spend $1,000 just to groom your dog? Also, don't argue about the price. Grooming is a really, really hard job. It's a lot of work. It takes over an hour. And you spend, $40, $50 on your haircut. You could spend $40, $50, $60 on your dog. It's not like it's every 6 to 8 weeks. It's not like, I know it's expensive, but it's worth it. Don't argue with the groomer over the price. I know like some dogs can go for even higher prices. Like there's dogs that they charge $200 for, $150 for, $120 for, and it's just like, it all depends on the dog and it depends on the groomer. If you don't like the price of somebody, don't argue with them on the price. That's really, really rude to argue with somebody on their grooming services. And I don't know why people think that that's an okay thing to do, because you don't go to your hairdresser and try to argue with them about the price for your haircut. You do, I don't know anybody who does that, so I don't know why you would do it to a dog groomer. Also, we're doing more work on your dog. We're not just doing the head, we're doing the whole body, and we're shaving poop out of the butt half the time, and we're shaving their feet, and we're giving them a bath, and we're clipping their nails. We're doing a lot of work, and we're cleaning their ears. We're doing literally everything all in one. Honestly, grooming should be more money, but we try to keep it as low as possible to make it affordable. So, anyway, I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Bye.